Good afternoon. Well, I have come back after a pretty long time. When I prepared my last video lecture, it was on Harold Pinter's The Birthday Party. It was a general discussion on the play. And one of the viewers left a comment. In fact, it's not a comment, it's rather a request. The request was to make another video on a particular aspect of the play which I had mentioned during my lecture. I was asked to make a video on The Birthday Party as a comedy of Menace. Now, I thought of making a video on this particular subject or topic, but on account of different reasons, I was busy with other things. I could not make any video lecture for my YouTube channel for a pretty long time. But today, I have decided to make a fresh one. And so after this long gap, when finally I sit down before the camera to make fresh video lecture, I have decided that my first lecture this time will be on The Birthday Party as a comedy of Menace. So this is our subject today, Birthday Party as a comedy of Menace. Apparently, this sounds like an oxymoron. If it is a comedy, how can it be menacing? So the word menace suggests something evil, something fearsome, something which is not to be found in the normal and everyday course of life. And comedy naturally means an element of mirth, an element of laughter, an element of joy. So how can we connect the two, comedy and menace? That may be a question. And we shall take this up in the course of my lecture. But before everything, let me point out that the phrase comedy of menace was first coined by, perhaps we should use this word, perhaps first coined by David Compton. David Compton, who himself was a playwright. And he wrote a play. The name of the play is this: The Lunatic View. The Lunatic View, a comedy of menace. A comedy of menace, we can assume, was the subtitle, and this play was published in 1960. So, the phrase comedy of menace most certainly was taken from Compton's play, and the critic Irving Wardle took this phrase from Compton and applied this term to label Harold Pinter's play. Well, this Wardle, the critique, points out that Pinter was substantially influenced by Beckett, Samuel Beckett, Kafka, Franz Kafka, and of course the gangster films. Well, it may be very surprising that how can we connect Beckett, Kafka with the American gangster films. But that was what perhaps was pointed out by Wardle for the first time. And he says, the birthday party exemplifies the type of comic menace. The birthday party exemplifies the type of comic menace. In the birthday party, we find elements of comedy, and in comedy of menace, comedy enables the committed agents and victims of destruction to joke about the situation, which is potentially dangerous. And this is done to display absurd or endearing features behind their masks of implacable resolution. Now, Wardle later on himself said that comedy of menace means a threat or an act of threatening. Menace means an impending harm, violence, and all this, a situation of violence, a situation of impending harm, a situation of danger which cannot be explained, superficially at least. All these things are there in the play, and they are mixed with elements of comedy. Comedy of menace is related to the dramatic context of the play. In the birthday party, tension is there, and along with tension, laughter is there. The menace in the birthday party stems from violence and uncertainty, but the laughter about abnormality is strongly present. The connection between the actor's predicament and the atmosphere and the audience's personal anxieties are always there. The atmosphere of menace pervades the whole play, the comedy of menace. And at times we feel that there is a shift in the play from the comic level to the deep seriousness of the situation. Comedy in the birthday party is, as some critics say, the comedy there is at the surface layer. But the outbreak of violence, both verbal and physical, destroys the comic situation. Throughout the play, we find a mixture of meaninglessness, which talks about the nothingness of human existence. Pinter once said, and I quote, "Everything is funny until the horror of the human situation rises to the surface." So everything is funny and until the horror of the human situation rises to the surface. Life is funny because it is based on illusion and self-deception. So illusion is also a kind of self-deception, and therefore it is funny. And this dream of Stanley, that is funny. Stanley dreams that he will be participating in great concerts. He dreams about his future and he concocts his past. It tells that he had participated in great concerts earlier also. Many people came and attended his concert. Even his father came. And we can guess that substantial part of what he says is concocted. And what he says about the future is purely an illusion. So, in this situation, there is fun, there is gloom. Fun is there because we can understand that Stanley is concocting everything. Gloom is there because of the predicament of Stanley. Why a young man has to concoct things about life in this manner? What has happened to him? We don't know. But we understand that he is in constant anxiety, constant fear of an uncertainty. Apparently this situation is very normal and to some extent funny. A young man living in the house of Betty and Meg as a boarder. And the only boarder in the boarding house. And Meg is seen to be proud at times about her boarding house. And she says that Well, our house is in the list. So that is equally funny. But beyond the mask of fun, we can see the reality. We can see the loneliness of the old couple. How lonely they are. They are childless. They have no future. Well, as the play begins, we can understand the monotony of their life from the very conversation. The same conversation is repeated every day because there is nothing new in their life. And perhaps Meg and Pete want to have something new, some new hope of living their life through Stanley. And therefore, well, abruptly, Meg declares that this is Stanley's birthday. This is funny because, well, Stanley vehemently protests, saying, "This is not my birthday." Who says this is my birthday? But Meg will say, "This is your birthday." And the two outsiders, Goldberg and McCann, they also emphasize, "Look, this is your birthday. This must be your birthday." So absurd. Now, I told you just now that he was, this painter was influenced by Beckett. So absurdity of Beckettian play, absurd. Well, somebody's birthday, but he says that this is not my birthday. But other people will say, other people will emphasize that this is the birthday. And not only that, they will arrange a birthday party. The birthday party. So the birthday is meaningless. The party is equally meaningless. And Stanley says, "I shall not be there in the party. I cannot participate in the party because this is not my birthday." But he's virtually forced to participate. And well, something menacing, something atrocious, something dangerous, something horrible happens during the birthday party. In fact, well, it starts with the interrogation part. Goldberg and McCann, they begin to interrogate Stanley about who he is, where he has come from. And the more the interrogation proceeds, the more do we find Stanley getting sagged, depressed, and devitalized. He cannot answer. How can he answer? And once again, the readers and the audience, they begin to think about Stanley, the past of Stanley, the identity of Stanley, who he is. Well, has he left a political party? Is he a renegade? Has he betrayed somebody? Maybe a political party? Did he have any political ideology? And he abruptly left that and came? We do not know. But we begin to think in our mind. And the more we think, the more tensed we become. And the atmosphere of uncertainty gets intensified. Now, well, Lulu, the conversation between Lulu and Stanley, that is funny, in part, and well, meaningless. Life is meaningless. When Lulu suggests that they should go and take a walk, Stanley agrees. Stanley says that, well, yes, they will go for a stroll. And when Lulu asks, where? Stanley says, nowhere. She'll go nowhere. And the funny part of the whole thing is that Lulu thinks that nowhere itself is a bliss. So, fun, seriousness, as if they're conjoined. And that is done by the skill of Harold Pinter. Even Goldberg, well, when he talks about his past, well, he had a different name perhaps, but he's so sensitive about the name. So who is Goldberg? Is Goldberg being treated as, being used as a robot? Does Goldberg have a heart? Goldberg, what he is? Well, the way he psychologically tortures Stanley. Well, it seems that the whole pattern has been created deliberately. It has been created planfully. And, well, it may be that this Goldberg is only a tool. Goldberg is being used as a tool. Goldberg had his identity, a different identity perhaps. And that identity has been taken away from him. So Goldberg refers to his own past and a different name with which he was called by his near and dear ones. But now he's a different man. Now he is a dangerous tool, a dangerous robot being used by maybe Monty. And till the end of the play, we go on questioning who this Monty is. Who is this Monty? So, when Stanley is being dragged by Goldberg, a feeble voice of protest is raised by Pete. Pete says, why are you taking him? And they say, well, he has got to be treated. And Pete suggests that, well, the treatment can be done by them. And Pete feebly requests that, well, Stanley should be let alone. And then the threat comes. The menacing threat comes. And they ask Pete whether he is ready to go with them to Monty. So Monty, as if a dangerous name. Monty, as if a fearful name. Now, well, lexically, Monty means the all-powerful. So who is this all-powerful person? We do not know. And that generates greater menace, definitely a greater menace. Now, well, Pinter at the end of the play suggests that in the world of today, everything is uncertain. There is no fixed point, and we are surrounded by the unknown. And Well, Pinter has refused to take up a set of facts. In fact, the whole play presents, the entire play presents a number of situations. The birthday party is a comedy of menace which tends to sacrifice credibility to the horrors of the subconscious, the credible and incredible, the possible of the impossible, the real and the unreal, the normal and the fearsome. They are all jumbled up in the course of the play. And well, Pinter, I told you, the Pinter was influenced by Franz Kafka. And like Kafka, Pinter had an obsession with ambiguity. So ambiguity is there throughout the play. Ambiguity is there. And well, there are many forces which are at work. And there are bureaucratic forces, there are familial forces, there are forces which cannot be explained properly. Now, for example, well, the character of Lulu. Well, simple character, but what role does she play? Well, is there an element of sexuality? Well, what happens in the birthday party? Lulu, seen lying flat, and Stanley lying on the body of Lulu. But how did it happen? How did it happen? It's never clear. Perhaps we can note that in the course of the play, sexual advances to Lulu were made not by Stanley, because Stanley was too meek a person to make anything like that. These advances were made by Goldberg. So was it Goldberg's machination? We are not sure about that. We don't know. And well, power. What is power? There is great ambiguity about that. What is power? Why are Goldberg and McCann presented as so powerful? What is the source of their power? Why is Stanley so afraid of them? Was the reason of his anxiety and fear? We are never sure. So, Menace perhaps emerges out of this uncertainty and ambiguity. Comedy is there on the upper surface. But, well, if we just go beyond the upper surface, the upper surface is very thin. It's a thin upper surface. When you penetrate beyond the thin outer surface, upper surface, well, it is uncertainty, fear, ambiguity, and menace. Thus, we can discuss the play as a comedy of menace. In fact, well, as I end my discussion, well, I shall end with a question. Is it possible? Is it possible to describe this play either as a comedy or a tragedy? Well, we can compare, we can try to compare this play with Ionesco's Rhinoceros. Well, there are comic situations, so there also. But the end of the play, Rhinoceros, well, horrible. So the element of horror is pervasive over there. Although in the beginning it seemed that there are lighter moments. Some of the conversations, they were light. In fact, there was also a thin love element in the play Rhinoceros. But basically, it is a play about man's final predicament. What will happen to man? The identity of man. I know. Well, the play by Ionesco, that's Rhinoceros, that also takes up questions man's identity. As the birthday party, Winter, questions man's identity. How to search for it? Everyone in the birthday party has been searching for his or her identity. Lulu, Goldberg, McCann, Stanley, everyone. And Megan Pete, well, perhaps they do not have any present, nor can they think of or hope for any future. So none has any identity. The whole world is bereft of identity. The whole humankind suffers from this crisis of identity. That is what the birthday party is. Therefore, the phrase comedy of Menace must be understood properly, because, well, by comedy, we should not try to understand what conventionally comedy means. And menace is there, deep and pervasive menace throughout. Thank you for today.